Assalamualaikum everyone. In this video, I'm going to present about a study on Ksl Holding Berhad about its performance and its determinant. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Amirul Haziq bin Sanifa. My metric number is 292558. So we will start with the background of the Ksl Holding Berhad. Ksl Holding Berhad, established in 1982 and headquartered in Johor Bahru, is a leading Malaysian property development company involved in residential, commercial and investment sector. Known for landmark projects like Ksl City Mall and Ksl Resort, the company excels in delivering large-scale projects and supporting regional urban development. Ksl integrated approach ensure high quality and timely project completion, contributing to strong financial performance through robust sales and investment return. Commit to sustainable development, Ksl incorporates green practice in its design code. The company aims to expand into a new market, leveraging its strong brand and extensive experience to benefit shareholders and contribute to Malaysian property industry. Right, so now we move to the problem statement. Ksl Holding Berhad, a major player in Malaysia property development sector, has faced fluctuation performance due to inconsistent revenue growth, economic uncertainty and market saturation. The COVID-19 pandemic is exhibiting this challenge by reducing real estate demand, delaying project and increasing costs. Additionally, increased competition for prime land has increased acquisition costs and strengthening Ksl research and limiting expansion. This study will examine on how Ksl Holding has addressed the challenge to maintain performance and its profitability in competitive market. So the objective for this research is to ascertain the internal or firm-specific factor that could have influence on Ksl Holding Berhad performance. The second one is to identify the external or macroeconomic factor that could have influence on Ksl Holding Berhad performance. And the third one is to investigate the internal and external factor that could have influence on Ksl Holding Berhad performance. The question for this research is there any relationship between the internal factor with Ksl Holding Berhad performance? The second one is there any relationship between the external factor with Ksl Holding Berhad performance? And the last one is there any relationship between the internal and external factor with Ksl Holding Berhad performance? So before we move further, I'm going to highlight some of the literature review in this research. The first one is about corporate governance. Corporate governance is the system by which companies are direct and controlled according to Cadbury Committee 1992. And the other one is about performance. In this research, the independent variable is a return on asset, ROA. ROA is a more superior measure of financial success compared to income statement profitability indicator like return on sale, according to Collins 2023.
For the next one is liquidity risk. Liquidity risk refers to the danger that an entity will not be able to meet in its short-term financial obligation due to the inability to convert asset into cash without significant losses, according to Drehman and Nicolau 2013. And the other one is credit risk. Credit risk exposure arises from financing operations that are not repaid, involvement in sale and trading, derivative activity and engagement in payment transaction and settlement of security on behalf of both themselves and client, according to Harper 2021. So for the next one is operational risk. Operational risk is the chance that interfering with business operation, rules, procedure or system will result in losses, according to Morgan 2021. And the other one is market risk. The definition of market risk is the risk resulting from adverse move in the price of liquid financial instrument, according to Carol Alexander 2009. So we move to the methodology part. The first one is sampling technique. The study analyzed data from Ksl Holding Berhad annual report from 2019 to 2023 to determine the major representative of the world Malaysian property sector. The study is to investigate the link between Ksl Holding Berhad performance as assessed by return on asset and other several factors. The determinant considered include both internal, external and internal and external factor. The other one is statistical technique. The data utilized in this study were derived from the company annual report for the 5 years from 2019 and 2023. The purpose of this study is to examine the company performance in terms of internal and external impact on organizational ratio. To measure the dependent variable, internal data such as the corporate governance index, ROE, current ratio, average collection period, debt to income, operational ratio, and operational margin will be used. Apart from that, inflation rate, interest rate, exchange rates, and unemployment rate will be chosen as the external factor. There are only a few existing variables have the ability to influence the independent variable, which can be measured by using SPSS analysis. So, for the data analysis, one independent variable and three dependent variables were chosen based on the theoretical framework for future research. For the data analysis, in this study, one dependent variable and three independent variables were chosen based on the theoretical framework of future research. The following is the research framework is about. Based on the picture, we can see that ROA is the dependent variable and independent variable is internal factor, external factor, and internal and external factor. The process of determining the impact of an independent variable on a dependent variable is accomplished via the use of multiple regression research technique. So now we move to the finding and analysis part. For the first one, we're going to look at the descriptive statistic. The descriptive data is depicted in the figure below. Descriptive data are short information coefficient that summarize a specific data collection, which might be indicative of the full population or a subset of the population. So now we look at the ROA. ROA presents a mean of 0.0709 and a standard deviation of 0.0561, implying an annual profit rate of about 7.09%. ROA measures a company efficiency in utilizing its asset to generate profit. The consistency in ROA, as suggested by the low standard deviation, indicate that the company has been effective in maintaining its profitability relative to its total asset over the analyzed time frame. For the next one is we look at the ROE. It presents a mean of 0.0752 and a standard deviation of 0.0578. This indicates an average annual return of 7.52%. With a moderate level of variability, ROE is an important metric for evaluating a company profitability in relation to shareholder equity. Next, under liquidity risk, the mean of the current ratio is 16.2203. This indicates that every 1 ringgit of current liability, the industry has 16 ringgit and 22 cents of current asset as a backup. This means that the company is highly liquid in short term. However, a standard deviation of 28.3295 indicates considerable volatility in the current ratio over the past year. After that, under credit risk, the mean of the average collection period is 101.0063, indicating that it takes on average 101 days to collect payment from customer. The standard deviation of 25.09059 days suggests that the time it takes to collect payment can be different significantly around this average. For the debt income to ratio, the mean of the 2.0388 indicates that the company is approximately 204% of its income. Furthermore, under operational risk, the mean of operation ratio is 0.4561, which implies that this company management efficiency is about 45%. In contrast, the standard deviation is 0.0471, shows small volatility in profit within 5 years. As for the operating margin, the mean is 6.8261. This indicates the company efficiency in generating profit is about 682%, where the standard deviation is 8.0092, also show volatility in profit within 5 years. For macroeconomic factor, the mean of inflation is 2.040, which means a rise in the price of this company product and service is roughly 204%. The standard deviation of 1.1127 indicates substantial profit volatility over the next 5 years. Other than that, the standard deviation of interest rate in the next 5 years is relatively high at 0.6471, while mean interest rate is 2.4500, indicating that this firm incurs a cost of borrowing the principal of approximately 245%. As a second point, the average exchange rate is 4.2956, which equals a percentage loss of 429% when exchanging one currency for another. Then, the mean unemployment rate is 3.9120, indicating that there are about 377 of unemployment workers among the labor force as a whole. Lastly, under corporate governance, the mean of the CG index is 0.9385, which implies that this company's non-financial output is about 94%. So now we look at the correlation table. When combining firm-specific and macroeconomic factors, the independent variables that are positive for ROA is return on equity, current ratio, GDP growth, and CG index. These variables are linked to the current independent variable. Tables show that for ROE, current ratio, GDP growth, and CG index all have a negligible correlation with ROA, with size of 0.997, 0.837, 0.044, and 0.82 respectively. It implies that for ROE, current ratio, GDP growth, and CG index have no effect on ROA. However, when we include firm-specific and macroeconomic factors, the independent variables that have negative correlation with capital receipt are the average collection period, debt to income, operational ratio, operating margin, inflation rate, interest rate, exchange rate, employment, and industrial production rate. This variable and the dependent variable have a negative correlation. Now we look at the model summary. For the internal, this study showed that out of 8 variables, only 3 contribute to Ksl Holding Berhad performance, which is CG index, current ratio, and average collection period, with an adjusted R-square of 0.953 or 95%. In contrast, the remaining variables are not relevant to this study. Model summary for the external. This study showed that out of 6 variables, only 3 contribute to Ksl Holding Berhad performance ROA, which is GDP growth, unemployment, and inflation rate, with an R-square of 0.671 or 67%. In contrast, the remaining variables are not relevant to this study. For the internal and external model summary, this study displayed that out of 13 variables, only 3 contribute to Ksl Holding Berhad performance ROA, which is industrial production rate, current ratio, and GDP growth, with an adjusted R-square of 0.863 or 86%. In contrast, the remaining variables are not relevant to this study. So now we look at the coefficient table for the internal model. This study shows that current ratio, average collection period, and CG index are not significant to ROA due to the p-value are more than 0.1, with a p-value of 0.127, 0.341, and 0.248 respectively. For the external, this study shows that inflation rate, unemployment rate, and GDP growth are not significant to ROE due to the p-value more than 0.1, with a p-value of 0.290, 0.942, and 0.642 respectively. Besides that, the inflation rate is the most not significant with a p-value of 0.428. In consequence, this external independent variable have no effect on the dependent variable or ROA. Now we move to the coefficient table for internal and external. This study shows that current ratio, GDP growth, and industrial production rate are not significant to ROA due to the p-value more than 0.1, with a p-value of 0.152, 0.535 and 0.221 respectively. As a conclusion, internal variables have a more significant influence on Ksl Holding Berhad performance than other model, which is external variable and internal and external variable. It implies that the return of equity ROE, current ratio, GDP growth, and CG index have no effect on ROA due to negligible correlation with ROE. For the limitation, the biggest drawback of this study is that Ksl Holding Berhad is the only sample used to conclude Malaysia Property Company. The annual report of Ksl Holding Berhad from 2019 to 2023 was the sole data for this research. As for the recommendation, Ksl Holding Berhad maybe can reduce the operating ratio number in order to boost the company performance value, as the operating ratio has a detrimental impact. Since the debt to income also has a negative correlation coefficient, lowering the debt to income ratio can boost the performance of the business ROA. So that's all from me about Ksl Holding Berhad performance. Thank you so much.